Hi, my name is Andy Fiore, and on January 28th at the Vogue Theatre, the premiere of my film Invisible No More will be showing. And joining the panel after the film is Dr. Gabor Mate, Ben Geselbracht, City Councillor for Nanaimo, Mia Golden, who works with Victoria Police and is a counselor, neuroscientist Catherine Wiseman-Hakes, and my special guest today, MP Alistair MacGregor. Hello, Alistair. Thank you for joining me today. How are you?
I'm really great. It's a huge pleasure for an honor for me to be here today with everyone and all of your esteemed guests.
Can you tell everybody what is Bill C-277 and why is it important?
So Bill C-277 essentially is it's a private members bill that I had the honor of introducing. Its aim is to set up a national strategy to help people who are living with brain injury, whether that's acquired or traumatic or as the result of a concussion. What I found through my research and great partnership with local constituents, but also with Brain Injury Canada, is that there are so many people across this country of ours who are living with a brain injury. And I really learned about the incredible lack of support that not only they have, but also their family and friends, because it does require a lot of people to help people with a brain injury readjust to their life. And so we kind of have a patchwork system in Canada. And, if you compare it to other agencies like cancer and heart and stroke, Brain Injury Canada just has very few resources to deal with the magnitude of the problem. So I felt like a federal approach, setting up a national strategy where it forces the Minister of Health, the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions to really engage with their provincial counterparts, engage with important stakeholders, engage with people who have lived experience, and set up this strategy that can, provide a framework for how we share research, how we share support networks, all kinds of things. I mean, the bill is quite detailed, but it's a result of many people providing a lot of commentary on what the final outcome should be. And I'm just the person who was lucky enough and had the honor of introducing in Parliament. But it had many authors, this bill, and I think it's going to provide an important framework for people who are living with brain injury right across Canada.
So can you break down what, if the bill becomes a law, what are some of the things that are going to happen for survivors of brain injury?
Well, I don't think you'll see the changes right away. I don't want to put people's hopes up. But what they will have for the first time ever in Canada is a legal framework that is legally binding on the government, which is actually going to force them to actually engage with their provincial counterparts and really put in the strategy all of the items that we've got listed. So, making sure that there's information and knowledge sharing, making sure that we have got national guidelines on the prevention and diagnosis and treatment of brain injuries. That legally binding mechanism is going to ensure that not only the federal government but provincial governments are actively engaging on this, and more importantly, that they're reporting back on how the strategy is being implemented. So I think from that perspective, you're going to see it from a federal perspective. Force the federal government to take this issue seriously, to start putting in those markers, and really start making sure that those all important supports are there for people. I think, I've spoken to a lot of people on the research side. They're really excited about how this is going to employ, different research requirements and knowledge sharing. So, yeah, I think that's going to be some of the really important things that we see.
One of the things that I experienced, and my life partner, she has had 13 concussions and has a seizure disorder. She can't leave the apartment because she has seizures every day. It's a non-epileptic, and it's a condition called small vessel brain disease. She has white matter hyperintensity showing up on her brain on the MRIs, which indicate trauma. And so myself, I overdosed that insight in 2006 and experienced an anoxic brain injury because I wasn't breathing for 5 minutes. And so when I went to St. Paul's for 1 hour of observation, nobody there gave me any information about anoxic brain injury and what I might be experiencing after the overdose event. And so what I'm finding is the healthcare system is lacking knowledge around this. And it seems like people need to be trained. We're in the dark about brain injury, and what steps can we take to make this awareness happen? Like, what do you think you can do, like with the awareness campaign, if this bill becomes law?
Yeah, well, that's actually one of the important components of this strategy, and it's contained in the bill. One of the markers of the bill is that we have to provide awareness, provide supports for education. We have to make sure that the whole spectrum of people who are involved with brain injury are involved in this, and that we actually bring people who have lived experience to talk about their personal situation, how they acquired the brain injury, the lack of support that led to them where they are today, because I think we need to fully realize the mistakes of our past, and we have to learn from them, and they're not something that we can change, but for someone in the future who may acquire a brain injury, if we can learn from our past mistakes and develop a comprehensive national framework to ensure that those supports are there and that people are aware of this. Because I think the example that you provided is very telling. I think a lot of people may get a head injury, they may overdose, and then they may not identify afterwards that the effects that they're feeling physiologically, mentally, emotionally are the result of a brain injury, and because there just is not that awareness out there, there is no education, there is no support for many people who are living on the margins. So and we know that the longer it goes untreated and undiagnosed, I mean, the worse it can get for individuals, and it can really lead them down some dark paths. So this is really about preventative medicine, and we can really, I think, cure a lot of social ills by diagnosing early and providing people with supports early on.
Well said. The other concern is that even in the age of technology that we're living in, where we can communicate with, immediately, why are healthcare professionals not speaking to healthcare professionals across the country regarding brain injury? Why are they not communicating? Why is there a lack of continuity of care? And so, like, for example, if I'm diagnosed with a brain injury in Ontario and I end up in BC for some reason, why aren't those records and files ending up there? Why is there, why are they not talking to each other? Why is that? Why is that happening, do you think?
Yeah, that's a tough nut to crack because our healthcare systems fall under provincial jurisdiction, and so as a federal politician, I had to be very aware of that fact that federally I cannot legislate into healthcare systems, but what I can do is I think the example that C-277 provides, and it comes down to a fundamental understanding that brain injury, I think, is too big of an issue for any one provincial health system to deal with. So while I may not be able to directly intervene in the laws that govern the sharing of information between provincial healthcare systems, I think by setting up this kind of a framework and having those regular meetings between the federal minister and his or her provincial counterparts, and having this legally binding framework in place, that's how we promote the awareness, the education, the knowledge sharing, especially amongst researchers.
Okay. So, and then finally, let's talk a little bit about why it's important, regarding Invisible No More, which is the documentary about the nexus of brain injury and criminal justice. Why is it important, especially for like people to understand? Because a lot of people think that, if you're in jail, you commit crimes, you have 85 convictions, you should be in jail. But the data reveals that 80% of prisoners internationally have an undiagnosed brain injury. And so, why is it important to help brain injured people in prison? Will it make our streets safer? Are we going to help them reintegrate? How is this a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, I've had the benefit of not only having been our party's justice critic, but for a time I was also the public safety critic. And I can remember a couple of years ago, I took a trip to the Lower Mainland, and I visited two federal correctional centers. One, the Mountain Institution, and I forget the name of the other one, but two federal. It was a maximum and a medium security facility. During the course of that tour, I got to speak to both the program officers who work inside the facility and also the parole officers who work outside. And especially from the program officers, these are very dedicated people who are dealing with some very troubled individuals. And they told me from their experiences that yes, there are so many inmates who are dealing with incredibly complex mental problems, and the undiagnosed prevalence of brain injury they thought was a big deal. So if we look at the name of our federal agency, it's called Corrections Canada, right? We want people to be able to leave an institution and to be able to reintegrate with society. But if we're not diagnosing and treating brain injury and providing them with the necessary supports, then the chances are very high that they are going to commit more offenses while back on the outside, and we're just going to have a revolving door. And of course, that is incredibly costly to our government finances, because the costs of maintaining institutions is astronomical. Whereas if you look at the investments that we could make in people and the long-term positive impacts that would have not only on their personal lives, but our Canadian society as a whole, we all, I think, in this audience can understand where the smart money would be.
Well said. And it's so true. I think the cost of helping somebody with a brain injury is like, I think, a fourth of the cost or a fifth of the cost of incarcerating them. It's
Absolutely.
and taxpayers are the winners. And so
Mhm.
I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for not only participating in the film, but also the panel. And so, how can people help to support Bill C-277 in closing?
Well, as luck would have it, my turn for debate is coming up soon. So our turn is determined by lottery as members of parliament. And the next 15 MPs, it's called a replenishment. The next 15 MPs are going to be eligible to bring forward their bills, I think, roughly around the time, maybe the end of February, early March. So that's the time, around that time in the spring is when I'm hoping to have C-277 have its first hour of debate. There's a lot of preparation that my team is doing in these weeks and months before we get to that. We're building a campaign for support. But please look at my website. We've got a whole section there. Write to your MP, write to the Prime Minister, write to the Minister of Health, the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions. We need to have a truly national movement building support behind this and showing that Canadians from coast to coast to coast see this as an important bill and that they really want the government to support it.
I'm going to buy a ticket for that lottery. Can you, for the people that don't understand what that means, what is the lottery?
Yeah, so at the beginning of every parliament, essentially everyone's name is put into a hat and it's drawn out one by one, and that determines the order in which we can bring forward bills for debate.
Does it matter whose hat they use?
I wish. It's all. I've actually watched it happen once, and it's done very professionally. They have a box, and the deputy speaker basically reaches in and pulls out names, and the order in which they're pulled, that's the draw number you get. And I think when I had my name pulled at position 95 or 94, somewhere around there. But so it's taken about 2 years to get to the stage where I'm ready. I have my turn to introduce and debate the bill.
Oh, you might need to kiss the Blarney Stone. Well,
Yeah.
best of luck, Alistair, and thank you again. I'm really looking forward to seeing you again in person on January 28th. I know you have to fly right after the panel, and I know you're busy. You're so busy, and I thank you so much for participating. We're going to do great things at the Vogue Theatre on January 28th.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it, Andy. Thanks so much.
Thank you.